Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of The Other 99. Today we have a deck from Matthew called Oona's Witchcraft. As the name implies, this deck focuses on the one and only Oona, Queen of the Fae. Oona, Queen of the Fae is a blue and black commander with a whopping 5/5 power and flying that gives you the opportunity to win through commander damage in 5 swings. However, what makes Oona unique is her ability to spend your mana in not only milling your opponent's decks, but also creating pesky 1/1 flying fairy rogue tokens. These are the creatures that will be helping you lower your opponent's life and protecting yours. Bitter Blossom and Notorious Throng. These cards help generate more fairy tokens along with Oona. Notorious Throng has the potential of even giving you a free turn. Pestermite. A creature with flash and the ability to untap or tap a creature can change how a combat phase turns out. Mistbind Click. A great card to tap all of your opponent's lands and fly in for some damage. Vendilion Click. It can disrupt your opponent's hand and potential threats. In certain situations, you can even use it against yourself to get rid of a dead card in your hand and draw another. Scion of Oona. Essentially a fairy lord that pumps all of your fairies by 1 and grants Shroud. The flash ability will really surprise your opponents when you're attacking with 2/2 Shroud fairies. Stormtide Leviathan. A whale of a creature that drowns your opponent's forces and is essentially unblockable. No blue deck is complete without some counterspells to keep your opponent scared. Dissipate. Allows you to tuck in a spell in the deck instead of the graveyard. Glenalandra Archmage. This creature is a built-in negate counterspell that allows you to use it twice due to persist. Spellstutter Sprite. With flash, this card is a counterspell since this deck is full of fairies and has a way to generate more of them. Fairy Trickery. A counterspell that exiles a potential graveyard threat and can be tutored by Fairy Harbinger. Cryptic Command. A great and versatile spell that lets you choose to counter, bounce, tap creatures, or draw a card. Time Stop. Although not technically a counterspell, it works in the same way in getting rid of spells and abilities in the stack, and can stop devastating combos. Sometimes you can't counter everything, but that doesn't mean you can't still deal with it. Crystal Shard. This bounce artifact serves the role of warning your opponents, but can also potentially protect your creatures by having you bounce them back to your hand. Capsize. A bounce spell you can pay to return to your hand and continue the fun. Cyclonic Rift. This devastating bounce spell can work early in the game or be overloaded to remove all of your opponent's boards. Far and Away. This versatile card allows you to not only bounce, but to force a sacrifice, which is especially helpful against hexproof or indestructible creatures. Doomblade, Go for the Throat, and Hero's Downfall. These spells are all creature removal at instant speed, while Hero's Downfall allows you to remove a planeswalker as well. Curse of the Swine. When you can't remove your threats, why not just turn them into bacon? Although this card leaves behind 2/2 boars, you get the benefits of getting rid of a threat from not only the battlefield, but the graveyard as well. Life's Finale. When the board is too crowded, you take out everything and take out potential threats from your opponent's deck. Nevinyrral's Disc and Oblivion Stone. Sometimes you just need to restart the board, and this is your way of doing it. Although a bit slow, these two artifacts can work well in getting rid of artifacts and enchantments, which is something blue and black cards traditionally have a difficult time accomplishing. Karn Liberated. This planeswalker has the ability to exile threats in the battlefield and your opponent's hands. And if you get to Karn to 14 loyalty counters, you always have an exit strategy and a potential bargaining chip. It is not enough to have answers in your deck if you can't get to them. Sensei's Divining Top. Essentially your filter drawing artifact that needs very little explanation. Prognostic Sphinx. This 3/5 creature encourages you to attack safely with flying in order to scry 3 cards, and hexproof at the price of discarding 1 card. Skullclamp. With all of your tokens, this artifact allows you to draw 2 cards for the price of 1 colorless mana and a small creature. Phyrexian Arena. Lets you draw an additional card with a minor ping. Rhystic Study. This card puts a tax on your opponent's spells and can get a bit annoying. It can get annoying to the point that they choose just to let you draw cards. A great card at the beginning of the game when players can't afford the early tax. Azami Lady of Scrolls. Essentially makes all of your wizards into tap, draw card. Blue Sun Zenith. A repeatable card drawing spell that allows you to spend extra mana on cards instead. Additionally, you can target another player that can work as a political move to help an ally, or finish milling an adversary. When you can't draw the cards you need, the tutor cards can help. Expedition Map. This nifty artifact lets you look for any land in your deck. Fabricate, an artifact tutor. Trinket Mage. This little guy lets you tutor for a variety of artifacts that in turn can help you either ramp with Soul Ring, draw cards with Skullclamp, or search for land with Expedition Map, or just find an artifact land itself. Mystical Teachings. Search for either instant cards or any card with flash, and search again with flashback. Kaho Manamo Historian. An interesting tutor where you search for 3 instant spells and exile them in order to cast them through Kaho's ability. But keep in mind that it's risky because if something happens to Kaho, you will lose the spells. Knowledge Exploitation. Works as a tutor for instants and sorceries, but instead of searching your deck, you search for your opponent's deck for the spell to cast without paying its mana cost. Muddle the Mixture, Perplex, and Clutch of the Undercity. Besides an instant sorcery response, a hard counter with a devastating effect, and an emergency bounce coupled with life loss, these cards transmute into very powerful cards inside the deck. These cards are essentially about versatility and about answering an immediate threat or looking for the card that can. Diabolic Tutor, a classic example of a tutor card. Liliana Vess. You normally will be relying on Liliana's tutoring ability, but you can also focus on disrupting your opponent's hand and building enough loyalty counters to create a mass revival of your creatures. Fairy Harbinger. Not only can you look for any fairy creature, but fairy tribal spells as well, like Fairy Trickery. Recursion in this deck allows you to have a second shot with some cards and can feed into reviving your opponent's nightmares. Elixir of Immortality. Essentially recycling your graveyard and allowing you to cast some of your cards all over again, plus the life gain. Archaeomancer. Helps return your instants and sorceries for one more devastating use. Memory Plunder. Instead of recasting one of your spells, you recast one of your opponents, and without paying the mana cost. Midnight Recovery. Allows you to constantly return creatures from your graveyard if it's ciphered to an evasive creature. Beacon of Unrest. A great card that allows you to revive both artifacts and creatures, allowing you to use it again after it goes back into your deck. These spells might not fall into a particular category, but their role is still critical. Lightning Greaves. Haste and protection for the free equip cost, which is great for protecting Oona and allowing you to safely make some fairies. Soul Ring. Everyone's favorite one-drop mana ramping artifact. Chromatic Lantern. Fixes your mana by making all of your lands into command towers. Astral Cornucopia. The great thing about this card is it gives you color mana while allowing you the option of deciding how much mana to input depending on where you are in the game. Body Double, Phyrexian Metamorph, and Clever Impersonator. All of these cards clone creatures. One searches the graveyards, another copies an artifact or creature, and the last one copies any non-land permanent. Stolen Identity. A great clone that allows you to not only clone an artifact or creature, but allows you to repeat the process again once it's ciphered. Sower of Temptation and Volition Reigns. Both great control magic cards, where one gives you a flying creature and the other takes a hold of any permanent. Fate Spinner. A card that controls your opponent's phases without any consequences to you, except maybe painting yourself as a target. Sigil Tracer. A wizard that allows you to copy an instant or sorcery spell by tapping wizards. Teferi Mage of Zhalfir. It stops your opponent's instant spells and allows you to cast your creatures in a flash. Also, it plays a critical role with the deck's favorite combo. Knowledge Pool. This card will lock out your opponents with Teferi on the field. Your opponent's spells will be exiled to be replaced with the ones exiled by Knowledge Pool, but Teferi will prevent your opponents from casting them in nothing but sorcery speed. In other words, locked down. The deck's lands. Dimir Aqueduct, Bajuka Bog, Halimar Depths, Riptide Laboratory, Nephalia Drownyard, Ghost Quarter, Seat of the Synod, Vault of Whispers, Barren Moor, Lonely Sandbar, Polluted Mire, Remote Isle, Talaria West, Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, Grex's Panorama, Academy Ruins, Buried Ruin, Vesuva, Thespian Stage, Dreadship Reef, Creeping Tar Pit, Command Tower, Dimir Guildgate, Drowned Catacomb, Secluded Glen, Sunken Ruins, Watery Grave, and 5 islands and 3 swamps. Now let's take a look at the strengths and weaknesses of the deck. For its strengths, it has a variety of answers and ways to search for them. It has plenty of flying bodies and ways to generate them. It has several mini combos and interactions. It has a strong commander with a great ability. The deck's weaknesses. It paints you as a target due to many of your cards and combos. It can't address fast aggro decks early in a game. It is very vulnerable to search lockdown cards like Stranglehold. It lacks ways to generate life despite all the life that you pay with some of your cards. You should play this deck if you like fairies and wizards, you like milling your opponents in exchange for 1/1 flying tokens, you like being able to search for answers throughout the game, you like controlling the board. Oona is a classic commander and is really popular if you're interested in the blue and black color combination. Some of you may want to put an infinite mana combo in the deck, as that allows Oona to mill everyone out of the table, but this can make your painted target even bigger. Which is your favorite fairy or wizard card? Let us know in the comment section below, and as always, thanks for watching.